Professional peers, good intentions derailed. In the late 2000s, leaders at East Park State High School introduced a program called Professional Peers. There had been some consultation with staff at the time with an emphasis on the benefits of teacher observation for professional learning, with many more experienced teachers leading the way, inviting others to observe their classroom practice. There was general support for a program that encouraged focused classroom observation for the sharing of professional expertise. Fast forward 10 years, and the mere mention of professional peers will elicit a range of reactions, all negative. From the new teacher, "What's that? Is there something else we have to do?" To the established teacher, Yes, I do that all the time, but haven't had time to record it anywhere yet." To the school leader, "Oh shoot, who's going to make sure this is happening before the reviewers come next week?" Professional peers, crafted from the good intentions of improving professional learning through peer observations, dialogue, and collaboration, is on life support, as one teacher recently described it. The key problems that have contributed to its demise and recommendations on how to revive it form the basis for this case study. Problem number 1: lack of leader involvement. Direct leader involvement in professional learning is crucial to its success. From the outset, the principal and leadership team have had no real direct involvement other than to instruct middle leaders to ensure professional peers is happening. Dunham 2016 identifies the promotion and participation of leaders in teacher learning as having an effect size of 0.84, while Fullen in 2016 speaks of the need for leaders to intentionally orchestrate the work of teachers. One may argue that because the principal and deputies don't teach, they cannot participate in professional peers. However, this cannot be an excuse. A thorough knowledge of teaching and learning on behalf of leaders is essential if teachers are to be developed and supported. How then can school leaders have this thorough knowledge if they rarely visit the classroom? Further, the middle leaders, heads of department, all do teach. Yet over time, rather than active participation in leading professional learning of their staff, their role has become more passive and compliance-based. Has everyone done professional peers this term and written it down somewhere? In 2007, when there was less external pressure, HODs were involved in professional peers. But now, in 2019, HODs no longer provide intentional leadership and are unlikely to be directly involved at all. So, middle leaders, therefore, also need to go out in front and take the learner stance. No wonder that professional peers is dying. Problem number 2: no shared moral purpose. Kent Peterson famously talks about vision and values being the bedrock of culture. Crucially, culture changes over time, and adjustments must be made as the externally imposed values of 2019 collide with the initial moral purpose of professional peers in 2007. Yet school leaders have not re-evaluated the moral purpose of this program. Bush and Glover in 2014 speak of the competing imperatives of the managerial and the moral, and with increasing external managerial pressure, never has the need for moral purpose been stronger. The importance of setting direction and having moral purpose is crucial, as people are motivated by goals they find compelling, not by participating in a process without understanding its moral purpose. Problem number 3: external pressure and compliance models. Professional peers was initially established in the pre-NAPLAN era, before my school, and in Queensland One School, offered external administrators the big data that would be used to batter the profession. Rickards points out the negative effects of administrative top-down mechanisms, and nowhere is this more evident than in the Professional Peers program at East Park. Without leader involvement, moral purpose, and the vigilant oversight that might have prevented it, Professional Peers has morphed into a compliance-type guideline for pedagogical approaches to ensure effectiveness. The influence of high-stakes testing and performance targets that have been imposed on the school by the Southeast region have further emphasized to teachers that the learning offered by Professional Peers is not based on what teachers need to know, but rather motivated by a desire to tell, as described by Timperley, 2011. This difference between need to know and desire to tell is not a subtle one. It is huge and reflects a shift from the original intent for teachers to nominate a peer they wish to visit and learn from, to leaders telling people who they should visit to improve their practice. Problem number 4, the depersonalization of teaching. In his well-known book, The Courage to Teach, Parker J. Palmer states that we teach who we are. He advocates that we consider not only what we teach, or even how or why, but that we must consider the who question, that the quality of our selfhood forms or deforms the way we relate to our students, our subject, our colleagues, and our world. This is echoed in the later work of Barr and Mello in 2016, who make the distinction that professional educators are teachers. They don't just do teaching. While Professional Peers fits squarely into ATSL Standard 6, Engage in Professional Learning, the focus here is very much on what teachers do, with advice to improve their teaching practice by seeking and applying constructive feedback, or participating in professional learning to improve classroom practice. However, these are all related to the visible teacher role, what teachers do, not who they are, and not only ignore what Barr and Mello call the invisible stuff of teaching, but shifts the focus away from the important personal questions of who we are. Having a naive focus on this first circle of classroom activity, from Barr and Mayer's Ecology of Influences and Context for Teachers work model, this focus on teaching rather than the teacher, ATSL standards play into the broader view of education as a business, with teaching as a commodity that can be improved to meet societal demands. Unwittingly, Professional Peers in East Park has become such a model. Rather than strengthening teacher voice, allowing for genuine collaboration and reflective practice, it has become a vehicle for improving the visible elements of classroom practice, without due consideration for the wholeness, identity, and integrity of the individual teacher. All 4 of these factors, then, combine to put Professional Peers on life support, a program at East Park State High School in name, but barely breathing, and certainly making no real contribution to teacher development at the school. The next section will focus on whether Professional Peers should be revived, or whether its life support should be switched off, allowing the development of a new model of professional collaboration. Leadership response. In the last few years, school leaders have been under pressure from the Southeast region for improvement in NAPLAN scores, A to E results, and behavioural data. The macro-contextual elements outlined in Barr and Mello's Ecology of Influences model on slide 7 are putting untold pressure on leaders, with the result that administrative and psychological barriers to effective leadership are only growing stronger, as outlined by Voulalis and Sharp. Administrative barriers include lack of channels of clear communication, lack of commitment from original stakeholders and Professional Peers, and loss of vision. Psychological barriers include the inability of the principal, who has been in the school since 2003, to lead cultural change. Voulalis and Sharp also point out that the longer the culture has been established, the greater the challenge to modify it, with the role of the principal being critical to its success. Other psychological barriers include the inability to disseminate an updated vision for the program, to protect teachers from the relentless pressure of compliance-based directives from the assistant regional director. For example, all teachers must now produce data placemats for every class they teach, documenting at least 3 types of differentiation strategies they will use for every class. While the leadership team certainly understands the link between student achievement and teacher quality, they have not shown the adaptive expertise required to establish priorities and competing demands, or to demonstrate that they too are co-learners, as Dinham says, leading from a place of empathy and understanding as the school heads into the perilous landscape of 2020 and beyond. Recommendations. Firstly, school leaders need to investigate the holistic notion of the school as a professional learning community. Whether they do this based on the 5 disciplines advocated by Senge, or whether they investigate Stoll's processes of leading professional learning communities, leaders need to be aware that PLCs don't just happen, but they are carefully created learning communities which require deliberate leadership, akin to the intentional orchestration mentioned earlier by Fullan and Quinn. Secondly, there needs to be a focus on instructional leadership and developing teachers. Using Dinham's 5 leadership dimensions, there must be particular focus on the participating element of number 4, for this will provide a framework for school leadership within which programs such as professional peers can effectively operate. Within this context, there needs to be a careful evaluation of professional peers. Perhaps the current leadership development group, consisting of its aspiring leaders, new teachers who want to learn, and established HODs, should complete this as a project using a logic model, collating feedback from teachers, questioning assumptions, and investigating if professional peers has a place in the professional learning community. It is also important to link professional peers not only to the ATSO standards, but also to the annual performance development plan for teachers. Internal programs such as professional peers and external requirements regarding teacher performance cannot work in isolation, but should fit seamlessly together, complementing each other. Finally, it is crucial to develop relational trust and respect for teachers as teachers, not just robots who do teaching. School leaders must look for genuine opportunities to develop trust and respect. They must set direction and vision. They must look for the chance to celebrate success. They should provide teachers the time they need to realize what they need to know, rather than being carried away or pressured by the department into a premature desire to tell, which will result in non-reflective practitioners capable only of superficial change. They must provide genuine opportunities for collaboration that respect the personhood of teachers, who they are, not just what they do. In conclusion, professional peers is more of a symptom rather than a problem in and of itself. It represents a wider problem within the school where, without realizing it, the culture has shifted to one of compliance and inspection, where teachers feel directionless and undervalued, where school leaders are being led placidly along by the winds of external change, rather than being active instructional leaders. In order for professional peers to be resuscitated, there needs to be urgent focus on these interventions, and this intervention needs to occur now. If not, it will not only be professional peers that ends up on life support. Thank you.